The security posture in Secure gives you a multi-tenant overview of the Microsoft security across your entire customer base. You can also drill down into a specific client to view their security posture details. To do this, click on the View Details button on the far right. From here, you can see all the different posture checks, their compliance status, what Microsoft license is required to configure these, the rationale behind why you'd want to configure these, how they can help you stay compliant with different regulations, and their impact on your Microsoft security scores. The security posture is all color-coded, so you can very quickly tell where you need to focus your attention. If it's green, it's fully compliant, you don't need to touch it. Whereas if it's yellow or red, it might need some work. The majority of the posture checks in Augmentt can be configured directly in our platform. You can identify which posture checks are configurable through Augmentt on the far right. If there's a gear icon, you can configure it in Augmentt. So admin MFA, for example, has 15 out of the 45 accounts that are not compliant. If I click into the posture check, it will show me which accounts are non-compliant and which accounts are compliant. And at the top of the page, there is a Configure tab, and if I click on it, I can now manage MFA for this customer. You have all three Microsoft choices available in the Augmentt portal. So if you're using conditional access policies, you can either edit or view your existing policies, or you can create a brand new policy directly in the Augmentt platform. You also have Azure per user MFA, where you can enforce or disable MFA per user. You also have the security defaults option. This is a toggle switch that turns MFA on for all users in the environment. Now you'll notice in my environment, I have a red dot next to security defaults because I have conditional access policies in place. And with Microsoft, you can use one or the other, but you cannot use both at the same time. For the items in the security posture that are not configurable through Augmentt, you'll notice that most of them have a lowercase I to the far right. And if you were to click on that I, it will provide you with instructions on where to go within the Microsoft portal with a link to click on, and then a step-by-step guide that often will include screenshots. Now, as you're working through the security posture, you may come across certain of these posture items that you are not going to set up for a client. Maybe you're already using a third-party tool, maybe the client has accepted the risk, or maybe they don't have the proper licensing. In these scenarios, you have a couple options to either override or ignore the posture checks. If the posture check directly impacts your Microsoft scores, you can override our posture settings. Just click the three dots to the far right of the posture check, select the appropriate option, and then you can type in your notes. Once you hit save, that'll override the current posture setting. It will change it to resolved. It'll show up as blue, and it will include your notes. So that way, if you were to share this report with your client, they would see a nice friendly blue color along with whatever notes that you've entered. Now, for the posture items that do not impact your Microsoft scores, you cannot override our settings. However, you can ignore them. So once again, if a client maybe doesn't have a P1 license, we can click the Customize Audit button in the top right corner. And this can be set globally or per tenant. I'm just going to set it for this tenant for now. I'm going to hide login portal branding, click Update. And now the login portal branding has been removed from the posture report. If I wanted to view it, I could just click Ignored. And I can still monitor the status of the security posture check without having it show up on the report that the client sees. And last but not least, in the security posture, you have the quick baseline button in the far right corner. The quick baseline allows you to make sure that 7 of these posture checks are compliant with one click of the apply settings button. Now, if these already are configured in your client's environment, it will just skip over them. But if they are not configured, it will go ahead and make the necessary changes to change these from either non-compliant or partially compliant to fully compliant and green.